When people think about the origins of economic thought, they usually jump straight to Adam Smith, Karl Marx, or perhaps Aristotle if their education reached that far. But there is a quieter truth buried deep in the medieval world, one that Western history rarely emphasizes. Nearly 1,000 years ago, long before capitalism, central banks, or modern finance existed, a Muslim scholar issued a warning that still echoes through every financial crisis today. He argued that when money loses its moral compass, societies begin to decay from the inside. Judging by the world we inhabit now, he may have understood us far better than we assume. This is the realm of financial history, where money, power, and human behavior collide, and where nothing is ever as simple as it appears. To understand Al-Ghazali, one of the most influential thinkers of the Islamic Golden Age, you must picture a world that feels both distant and strangely familiar. The year is roughly 1100 CE. Europe remains fragmented and impoverished, still struggling to emerge from the aftermath of the early Middle Ages. Meanwhile, the Islamic world stretches from Al-Andalus in Spain through North Africa and into Persia. Its cities are wealthy, dense, and intellectually vibrant. Baghdad, Damascus, Cairo, these are centers of finance, scholarship, and trade. Caravans move constantly along vast trade routes, carrying silk, spices, textiles, and silver. Markets are crowded. Knowledge circulates freely. Scholars debate philosophy, law, astronomy, and medicine. Wealth is expanding rapidly, reshaping society faster than anyone fully understands. It is within this environment of commercial growth and rising inequality that Abu Hamid al-Ghazali emerges. He was at once philosopher, jurist, theologian, and critic, the rare kind of thinker capable of explaining both the purpose of the human soul and the function of a monetary system without hesitation. Born in 1058 in Persia, Al-Ghazali rose quickly through the intellectual ranks. By his mid-30s, he held one of the most prestigious teaching positions in the Islamic world. But what distinguished him was not his status. It was his refusal to accept the existing order as healthy or inevitable. He observed a society growing richer while feeling increasingly hollow, an economy flourishing outwardly while corroding inwardly. The modern parallel requires little imagination. Al-Ghazali asked a question few dared to confront. What happens when a civilization becomes wealthy faster than it becomes wise? To answer it, he turned his attention to money itself. This is where many modern audiences are surprised. Al-Ghazali was not merely a religious thinker. He was among the earliest philosophers to examine money through moral, psychological, and systemic lenses. Where Aristotle treated money as a functional invention, and later economists would analyze it mathematically, Al-Ghazali focused on how money reshapes behavior, incentives, trust, and ultimately the fate of societies. At its core, he argued, money was never meant to be worshipped, hoarded, or treated as a symbol of status. It was a tool, nothing more, designed to facilitate exchange. He compared money to a mirror. A mirror has no intrinsic value. Its worth lies in what it reflects. Money functions the same way. Its power does not come from gold or silver itself, but from its ability to enable cooperation, trade, and collective progress. From this foundation emerged one of his most enduring insights: hoarded money is dead money. Wealth locked away in chests, buried in courtyards, or hidden from circulation was not merely unproductive in his view, it was socially destructive. Idle wealth does not pay workers, fund commerce, or sustain families. it chokes economic life. Al-Ghazali described hoarding as freezing the bloodstream of society, an image that could easily appear in any modern critique of inequality. Importantly, his argument was not simply moral outrage at greed. It was systemic analysis. When wealth is hoarded, artificial scarcity is created, not because resources are absent, but because circulation is blocked. Prices distort. Markets malfunction. Ordinary people suffer. From here, Al-Ghazali advanced another crucial idea: speculation destroys trust. He condemned merchants who manipulated prices, engineered shortages, or exploited crises for profit. To him, this behavior was not clever entrepreneurship, but moral corruption. Profit without contribution. Those who benefited from the suffering of others, he argued, were drawing wealth from decay itself. And once corruption takes hold, it spreads through markets, institutions, and eventually the entire social order. Yet Al-Ghazali was not opposed to trade or profit. He believed markets were natural, necessary, and potentially noble. His target was dishonest commerce, false weights, concealed defects, misinformation, and deception. Markets function, he believed, only when participants trust one another. When trust collapses, the economy collapses with it. In this sense, he anticipated modern concepts like information asymmetry, transaction costs, and moral hazard, centuries before economists gave them names. He also placed immense value on labor. Work, in his view, carried dignity. Wealth earned through effort strengthened character, while wealth accumulated through manipulation weakened it. Societies thrive when people contribute. They decay when exploitation becomes normalized. Al-Ghazali extended this critique to the state itself. Medieval rulers often diluted gold and silver coinage to stretch their budgets, a form of hidden taxation through inflation. Al-Ghazali condemned this outright. To him, debasing currency was theft. It eroded trust, punished the poor, and destabilized markets from the top down. The state, he argued, had a role in protecting fair exchange, but not in manipulating money for short-term gain. Unjust rulers, he warned, destroy prosperity faster than any external enemy. These conclusions were not abstract theory. Al-Ghazali lived in a period of political fragmentation, fiscal pressure, and power struggles. As rulers tightened their grip, they raised taxes, seized assets, diluted currency, and borrowed recklessly. None of these tactics solved the underlying problem. Corruption at the top radiated downward. When rulers cheated, merchants felt justified in cheating customers. When institutions abandoned integrity, individuals followed suit. Trust collapsed layer by layer. His conclusion was stark. A society can survive poverty, but it cannot survive corruption. Economic collapse, he argued, is rarely caused by a lack of money or resources. It is caused by the breakdown of trust, the invisible foundation supporting every transaction, contract, currency, and institution. Once trust erodes, even the wealthiest society becomes fragile. Al-Ghazali understood something timeless about human nature. People hoard out of fear. They speculate out of greed. They cheat when they believe they can escape consequences. They manipulate money because money is easy to manipulate. And once exploitation becomes normal, collapse is already underway. You cannot repair an economy without repairing the incentives that guide behavior. Laws and markets matter, but behind them are human choices driven by fear, ambition, and desire. If incentives reward dishonesty, instability follows. This is why Al-Ghazali insisted that wealth without responsibility is dangerous. Wealth is not evil, but it is incomplete without purpose. Societies flourish when individuals give more than they extract. They weaken when profit becomes detached from communal obligation. A selfish society, he warned, eventually collapses under its own weight, and when it does, even the wealthy are not spared. Seen from the modern world, his ideas feel less like medieval philosophy and more like diagnosis. Rising inequality, speculative excess, institutional mistrust, currency manipulation, and recurring financial crises all echo the patterns he identified 1,000 years ago. Al-Ghazali understood what many still resist admitting: money is not a mechanical object. It is a moral ecosystem. When that ecosystem breaks down, the financial system follows. His message remains painfully relevant. When money is severed from morality, collapse becomes a matter of time, not possibility. If this perspective reshaped how you think about wealth, trust, and power, subscribe to Money Archives, where we explore the deep moral and historical structures behind the world's financial systems.